Communications Minister Mondli Gungubele has expressed confidence in the measures aimed at saving cash-strapped SABC and the Post Office. Briefing the media on the performance of his department and stabilizing the state-owned enterprise entities, the minister has assured South Africans that the SABC management's turnaround strategies will address the corporation's insolvency issues. For more on this, Minister Gungubele joins me live in studio. Good evening, Minister. Thanks very much for your time.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity with your viewership.
Well, you didn't have, it would seem, particularly good stories to tell today. And one wonders why you felt the need for the briefing on the performance of state-owned enterprises under your department.
Well, the briefing was about the performance of the entire department. We were able to table before South Africans today that in 1 year we have connected no less than 749,000 households, rural and township. That means access to 5 rand up to 6 or 7 rand a gig. If you know what a gig is, it charges no less than 80 rand in the normal market there. That can't be a bad story. And that story means people who've got those 749,000 households, if you say an average of 6 per home, you can multiply how many poor people, their children are able to access library through their devices without paying for transport, the money they do not have. They are able not only to go to a library that does not have every book, they are able to use their devices to access all the kind of books they have. Maybe just to give an example, in Mount Elif, one chap there told us when we finished connecting in Mount Elif, says, once I had access to this affordable line, suddenly my chicken pieces went higher. Because people around me who didn't know that I'm selling chicken pieces, who used to go to town, suddenly know around themselves their chips. The story is big. They are able to upload applications without traveling to Kingdom's Town from what to call. From then I can go on and explain to you. The point is, that to me can be a bad story.
Well, data costs are still very high.
I'm saying,
and that's why you have low internet penetration levels in the country. That's why people can't really take full advantage of available technology.
Let's correct something. In terms of the NDP, penetration by 2030 is about 80%. Penetration doesn't mean necessarily connectivity. It means the infrastructure access, the availability of infrastructure for communication. South Africa has actually reached that 79% before NDP. Now the point is...
But availability is one thing, man.
No, but allow me.
Okay,
allow me, you read it through to cast aspersions and doubt and cynicism. The point I'm making to you is that now that we are connecting 749,000, it's a fact, Will. Go to those families. They access gig through 5 to 6 rand. Do you know how much a gig costs? So you cannot dispute this because it's a fact.
Yeah, but the point I'm making, Minister, is that availability is one thing, but access is quite another.
Can I explain this? When you say access, those people have been connected now. Let me use just Kokstad. Kokstad just recently were launching it, 1,600 houses. Something network mesh. It means in the entire area like that, all people there are connected at an affordable rate. That's access.
Let's move on, Master, because we want
to... No, but it's a fact. It's science. Connectivity means you have network, you have data. The affordability of data has been reduced to those communities. So they have got network, not only having network, they can access it because the data through which they use that is affordable.
Yeah, but
so that's access.
It doesn't mean they can do all the things that technology allows them to do today.
Give me an example.
Because it's going to cost them. No, it's going to cost them more.
Give me an example. I'm saying to you, in one family in Kokstad, I hate that I cannot remember their name. I can give you that when I leave here. There were about 3 children there, hardly anything to eat on the table. They are simple gadgets. I'm saying to you, they say to me, Minister, we used to travel at night to library, sometimes at a risk and with little money not available, to get to that library so that we can write our assignments. Now we sit at home and we're able to access it. These people can see streamings, they can see movies, they can upload applications. This is not a joke for you.
Okay. Let's move on, Mr. I want us to talk about the post office a little bit. Hundreds of post offices are closing down across the country. And now we're talking about thousands of workers who have now been served with notices that they're about to lose their jobs.
Let me start somewhere on this matter. Around March, there was an application to liquidate post office. You know what the ultimate results if that happened? There would be no post office, not a single worker in the post office. At that time, workers were about 11 or 12 or 13 or 14,000, right? That the intervention by the cabinet of saying let's opt for a business rescue, because the implications of closing a post office for the poor in South Africa are ghastly to contemplate. Now, instead of decimating 14 or 15,000 workers and killing the entire service to that community, post office now has got a lesser number of branches which are meant to run efficiently. In other words, from 1,000 branches, which will run at a cost but with little service, you reduce them to a viable lesser number with better service.
But then, remember, this has been happening for quite a while. This is not the first set of retrenchments at the post office. It's been happening over the years. So the interventions have only been to mitigate or to lessen the impact on the workforce, but not to stop it.
Well, it's like saying it's not possible to find a vaccine for a long-term disease. The point is, at some stage, a wrong thing must be stopped. And I'm saying to you, we intervened in March. The cabinet took a decision, opted for a rescue. Now we have been able to save the post office. It's on a course towards salvation to become solvent. From 6,000 indicated workers in December, they are only sending letters to 4,700. We are working hard. We are not sleeping. We want to check even if we can't reduce even that 4,700 as I speak to you.
Does that mean, in terms of what is in front of you, the plan, going forward, that there won't be retrenchments again? Well,
we're not economic prophets. There are different reasons for retrenchment. There are retrenchment because you are poorly running your institution. In this instance, we accept that we didn't properly run post office. That's the reason we find ourselves in this situation. But other retrenchments are as a result of the vast majority, the vast majority that is beyond your control. So I cannot prophesize and say there will never be retrenchment.
No, it's precisely because of what you just said, that your confession that the government didn't properly run. Yes, you just did. That you didn't properly run the post office.
That's not a confession. It's an acceptance of truth.
But isn't that the reason? Isn't that the reason that the post office hasn't worked? And hence my question, that can you now sit there and say it's never going to happen again? Because with that admission or acceptance of truth, as you call it, right, should then come something that says it will never happen again.
Let me give you an example. I think this is a living example. If you go to Queenstown now, not long ago, Queenstown was in trouble. Papiana, who is running Queenstown now, is turning it around. But it's a long time it had problems. Now, Papiana is turning it around. The business committee is happy there. Go and ask Papiana that it will never happen again. He may not be there. But now Papiana must be appreciated for the good work he's doing in Queenstown.
But then that suggests you have no confidence in your future plans. Because if you can't say with certainty that what has happened before will not happen again...
we are playing another game. The point is, the interventions we are making, we are going to implement to the best of our ability. When you say never, I don't know in 100 years where we will be. You won't be here. Are you going to answer that question? In 70 years, in 60 years? You can't say, the word never means something that will never happen again. I think that's unscientific. But where we are happy with the interventions we're making. As long as these interventions are executed in the manner we do, we don't expect this to come back again.
Well, it turns out whether it's 4,700 workers or less, which we are hoping for, the post office or the rescue practitioners don't have the money. They're going back to the government to say, give us the money to pay.
Listen, if you look at the order that was given by the court, remember, to opt for a business rescue, the court must grant it. For the court to grant it, there are three things that you must satisfy. One, how are you going to keep the post office afloat as you are rescuing it? Two, is there anything that will be given to creditors? Three, is there a turnaround strategy? All those three things passed the test at the court. That's why the court granted the order to say, okay, there is a possibility of rescuing this thing.
Speaking of possibilities, is there a possibility of rescuing the SABC?
Yes. Yes, let me give you an example. The new board, which I keep on giving credit, I'm very much happy with this new board and up to this point, and the management. Remember, from April when they came in, up to now, a number of obligations that are due to the SABC are being paid. Remember, an insolvent, an insolvent institution. Up to this point, and they have reassured me that they will be able to cover election. I've got no reason to doubt them. If I look at the period, it took them from April to this point. So they have now in their turnaround strategy put in place turnaround strategy that deals with issues of partnership, that deals with issues of diversifying source of revenue streams, that look at monetizing their OT, which is SABC Plus. A lot of issues they have put. There's a good reason why they can make money. I believe it's going to happen because what they have already done since April to date, I've got no reason not to believe them.
But you do remember, Minister, that in the past these things have been said. There would be a new board and people would sing its praises. The new whatever new executive comes into being, it would come up with a turnaround plan, turnaround strategy, but would still go back to where things are at the moment. And from a worker's perspective, their biggest fear is that there will soon come a time when the SABC can't broadcast. There will be nothing on air.
There will
be no workers to do that.
As I speak to you, SABC is paying the salaries of its staff, as I speak to you. As I'm saying to you, it's serving significant obligations that are due by SABC. When you say in the past they said there will be a board, I'm not saying there will be a board. I'm saying there has been a board since April to date. It kept the SABC.
I'm saying there would come a board and ministers would sing its praises, telling us just how capable that board is, but things would happen or not happen, and the SABC would be where it is today.
They say things would happen. I'm not talking here about things would happen. I'm saying an insolvent board, an insolvent SABC has been kept afloat from April until now. It's not would happen. The floating has been executed to date, and they are keeping afloat. And it's quite men and women of stature who would a track record where they come from. And I must tell you, if we were to live in terms of our past failure, we must just stop living for you.
Master, we are wrapping, but very quickly. Postbank reported a net loss of 2 billion rands for the 2022-2023 years. What's the future looking like?
Brilliant. I'm sound like a scratch record. You see, as Postbank, when I came in it around March, they had 3 years on a disclaimer. They are now on the road towards unqualified, and I cannot say exactly when, but already a lot of turnarounds have been done. For nearly 9 years, executive level had acting people. Now, a significant number, your CIOs, your CFOs, your COSACs, and so on. The CEO of 15 years banking experience is running the Postbank now. Just as I speak to you now, there's something called a verification notice, which South African Reserve Bank gives to banks We know what that means. It means if a bank is supposed to give a particular service, because of it not meeting certain requirements, Reserve Bank says, you are not going to continue serving in the normal way you originally meant. That's called verification notice. In this instance, it was the card that was not meeting standard. They have actually turned that around hardly 9 months. Now that card has passed. So a lot of issues that are happening in the Post Bank are actually pointing in the positive direction.
Minister, we have to leave it there for tonight. Thanks
Thank you
very
for
much
the
for coming
opportunity.
through.
Thank you very much.
A very hopeful minister.